Hey everyone, it's Matt here.
How's it going, everybody? This is your friend Will, rocking my t-shirt. Hope everyone's doing great. I'm wearing sunglasses because I want to look cool for you, and also because I'm sleep deprived. But anyways, let's get started right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Tech Kingpins. So, you're wanting to develop an app, but you're not really sure what the difference is between iOS and Android? Well, you're in luck. Today, we're going to tell you exactly that.
Like, there's a famous saying out there called, it's hard to know the war without knowing who you are fighting. I think it was from the Art of War, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a Art of War specialist. Anyways, today we're going to look at the two biggest ecosystem in the app development community, Android and iOS. We're going to share with you some of the insight and some of the problems that we ran into and discovered in the process of us developing products for ourselves and for our clients.
Hey, quick pause right here. Are you a tech founder who's looking to disrupt the status quo? Or are you a business leader who wants to stay current with what's happening in the tech industry? You should always consider subscribing to this YouTube channel because we'll always be talking about the hottest, newest stuff happening in the tech industry.
Now let's look at Android. Now, Android overall has a much larger global market share than iOS.
Now, Android being an open source operating system give the phone manufacturer, the phone company, a lot of freedom to customize the actual operating system for their own devices. And because of that, some of them are able to lower their price, and they're able to basically sell it to the people who, are a little bit more price sensitive when it comes down to choosing which phones to use. And hence, because of that, it enabled a bigger market, and therefore it has a bigger market share. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Not really? All right, well, now you know.
Another benefit is that Android allows more flexibility and ability to customize your apps and features.
Because of it being an open source operating system, many developers are able to develop plugins as well as frameworks and libraries to help integrate and develop apps on top of Android. And also, because the devices are sometimes cheaper, a lot of developers can easily afford an Android device, an Android phone, and begin their Android app development on top of it. And so it gives more freedom and more libraries you can choose from when it comes down to developing your own app on Android.
And also, it's just much easier to release onto the Google Play Store than it is the Apple Store because there's less restrictions, quicker to get it up, and you're less likely to be rejected.
The compliance structure on iOS is quite rigorous. Sometimes they even do quality assurance for you, meaning that they will actually open up your app and see every functionality is working as expected. And if not, they can reject you. That is to ensure that the quality that they launch on the App Store is up to par with the overall Apple standard. Whereas for Android devices, it's much more relaxed. And sometimes you can even distribute just a build package directly to your end client without ever having to launch it onto the Play Store.
Now that we've had a look at Android, let's have a look at iOS. iOS has a more affluent user base that is more willing to spend money on their apps. And despite Android possessing a much larger global market share, as recently as 2018, the Apple Store actually made almost double Android's revenue in 2018.
Yeah, iOS ecosystem in general has a group of very loyal customers. They believe in Apple product. They believe in the vision of Apple. So when they spend money, they're a little bit more insensitive when it comes down to pricing. And also they're more willing to spend overall. So because of that, as the statistics mentioned above, iOS Apple Store had almost close to $47 billion revenue in 2018, whereas Google Play Store only had about 25 billion. So you see, it's almost one half of the iOS App Store revenue. So it's always important to keep that in mind. If your product is something that's more revenue driven, unlike something like more user traction and traffic driven, such as social media apps.
Also, another benefit to iOS is that it's much faster and less expensive to create an app.
It's also going to take a longer time to develop and also for quality assurance. So if you're looking at native development, iOS in general costs a lot more less.
Also, iOS tends to be more secure due to it not being open source and due to the strict guidelines of the Apple Store. That makes it less likely for your app to be exploited.
As we mentioned earlier, there is a very strong policing standard for iOS ecosystem. Thanks to Apple's compliance and security procedure, most of the apps on the Apple Store are relevantly secure. So you can probably use them without having to ever worry about there being any type of malware or viruses. But that is to say, there's still a possibility. But it is much more different when it comes down to developing an Android app. So security is another thing that you need to factor in when it comes down to differentiating and understanding these two types of ecosystem and softwares.
So now that you know a bit about Android and iOS, let's look at what you should consider when you're developing a mobile app product.
As I mentioned earlier, these two types of ecosystem actually have their own unique users, right? They each have their own persona. So depending on the type of users you're targeting, you may want to be focusing one over the other. However, when cross-platform app development culture, such as Ionic, React Native, Flutter, NativeScript, becoming more and more popular, it is easy to push products to both Android and iOS devices. And because they're building on a generalized solution across all different platforms, sometimes the legacy system, such as, let's say, iPhone 6, is not really supported very well. So if you want to support users who prefer to use iPhone 6 in this day and age, you probably have to invest a lot of time and resources onto actually making sure that your app functions properly.
So there you have it. Are you building an app, or have you already built an app? If so, we would love to hear your story in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content.
And if you're looking for a development team to build your app, you know who to call.